basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Hello, Iona College. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe and Big Shot Rob rolling along, and if you saw us on the live stream during the break, you see we have our new banner. Thanks to our main man, Mike Demergis, helped us hang it up, and it's looking good, Big Shot Rob. I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice design, and it's great. I really like what the design you picked out. It's an amazing banner.
It really is. It really brings out the powder blue and the Chargers jersey. It looks very professional, and I like it. But we're moving along. We did everything, our baseball little recap, but we're moving into college football, and man, this was by far the best weekend in college football. I mean, by a landslide. From 12 o'clock to 1:39 in the morning, Rob, I was locked in. There was just upset after upset, just high-quality games. It was just an unbelievable day.
It was crazy. I was just telling you before, I was sitting in the barber shop, and I'm texting you because I wanted to talk about some of the college games, and it was upset city, Joe, this whole week. The top 5 is just all over the place. Everybody except Florida State got changed, and I really cannot believe this weekend. It was really sick this week.
It's funny. I wanted to go to bed early on Saturday night. Well, not early, but I watched the half of the UCLA game. I was like, okay, I got to get to bed before 1 because I want to get up for the soccer games on Sunday. But that game I saw where it was going, and with everything that happened the rest of the day, I had to watch the whole thing. And, of course, UCLA fell, and another one went down. But before we get into the individual games, let's go over the new poll, the top 10. Now, it's very different from what we had last week. You've got number 1 Florida State, 5-0. Everybody's 5-0 except for number 7 Alabama. So the first 6 are all 5-0. Florida State 1, Auburn 2, Baylor 3, Mississippi 4, Notre Dame 5, Mississippi State 6, and Alabama finally with the first one with a loss at 7, Michigan State at 8, Oklahoma at 9, and Georgia at 10. Oregon falls to 11, which is a little surprising to me. I would probably put them at 10. But for the top 5, my number 1 team for my rankings is Auburn. Florida State is 5-0. I mean, you can make a case for them that one, but I think Auburn has been the most consistently dominant team so far this year. I mean, you look at them offensively, they're better than they were last year. Nick Marshall's improvement in the passing game just makes that offense so much better. Defensively, they are even better than they were last year. I mean, they really struggled stopping SEC opponents with that defense last year. That defense is much better this year. For me, Auburn is the best team in the country, but Auburn's going to lose eventually because Auburn's schedule is just insane. They play Mississippi State this week. They still have games against Alabama. I think they still have a game against Georgia. So they have just a brutal schedule. They're going to lose somewhere. It's the nature of the SEC, but for me, they've been the most consistent. They're the best team to me.
Yeah, they're the same to me, Joe. Their running game is amazing. Nick Marshall has done a great job with passing and rushing. This week threw for 207 yards, rushed for 119. And this team, I say if they make it to the BCS championship again and they do play Florida State, they're going to get the job done this time.
I agree. I was talking about that on the morning show a little bit today. I think if Florida State and Auburn played now, Auburn would win, hands down. I mean, and here's the thing for Florida State I want to say. I'm still waiting for them to remind me that they're the defending national champions. I haven't seen a win from them yet where they've convinced me, they've reminded me that that's why they're the defending champs. Even in this game against Wake Forest, Wake Forest is horrible, they really let them hang around for a while in that game. I know the end score made the game look a lot more dominant than it was, 43-3, but until about the early third quarter of that game, it was a 16-3 game. I mean, Florida State kind of got pushed around a little bit by that defense for a little while in that game. So Florida State, I'm a little weary of. I really am.
And Jameis Winston, Joe, I'm not even sold on him as a top quarterback this year. I'm really not pleased with how he's performed this year. Last year, it really amazed me with the numbers he was putting up. This year, I don't know what is up with him. He's had that whole thing where he got suspended. And I'm not really proud with this Florida State team. I don't see them finishing number 1 this year at the end of the season.
Well, that's the next thing I want to go to is anyone in college football going to finish the year undefeated this year? I don't think so. I think Florida State's the only one who might, and that's because they just don't play the schedule like an Auburn does, like an Alabama does. And I think Florida State, there's only one game upcoming against Notre Dame where they might. I think they'll still win that game, but that game's going to be fun to watch. But I think Florida State at the end of the day will probably go undefeated. But I would put a one-loss Auburn team over Florida State every day. I mean, just Auburn, that one loss is going to be against a quality opponent, and it's not going to really take much away from them for me. But let's go to the Mississippi teams. The Mississippi teams were the headline of the weekends. Mississippi beating Alabama. Mississippi State beating Texas A&M. In Mississippi State, first I'll go to. I mean, Mississippi State beats LSU. They beat Texas A&M. And, Rob, you know who they play this weekend?
No.
The Auburn Tigers. So you go from LSU to A&M to Auburn. I have them losing to Auburn this weekend, but look, that is a brutal stretch, and that's the SEC, folks. I mean, that's what you deal with when you play in the SEC. You're playing a quality, just top-tier program every single weekend, and unfortunately for Mississippi State, I think they're going to finally lose this game on Saturday.
It'd be nice to see them win it, though.
It would.
If I know we like Auburn, but if they win it, they are going high up in the rankings.
Oh, absolutely.
They played so great. I cannot believe my Aggies lost this week. Kenny Hill struggled, and they took full advantage of it.
And here's the thing for Kenny Hill is, guess who Mississippi plays now?
Mississippi. The Aggies?
Yes, they do.
Yes.
So you got Ole Miss now playing the Aggies, and look, they could very well lose that game as well. It's just the SEC, and I'm a little bit higher on Mississippi State than I am Mississippi. I'm not the biggest fan of Bo Wallace. He's a little inconsistent for me. So I would probably go with Mississippi State over Mississippi. We're saying Mississippi a lot on this show. It's a little bit of it takes a little bit out of your tongue there. But, man, I mean, it's just going to be great to see both of them play again this weekend. Two more great games. I can honestly see both of them lose. I can see them both winning. I mean, it's you never know in the SEC. It's going to be tough games either way. But let's go on to number 11, Oregon. I mean, Oregon I would probably put at 10 for me, but I am very, very disappointed in Oregon. I mean, they could have lost 2 back-to-back home games. I mean, they could not stop Washington State the previous week. And this week, they just, man, Arizona went in their building and pushed them around in Eugene, Oregon. And the main thing I've seen from Oregon is that offensive line is just banged up. You're missing some guys, and Marcus Mariota has been running for his life. I think he's had a good year, but Oregon just defensively they struggle to stop people, and that offensive line struggles protecting Marcus Mariota. And it's disappointing because I would have loved to see Oregon in the playoff, but you look at the way things would have to fall for them to really end up getting one of those spots now. It's going to be tough. I mean, these SEC teams are now dominating the field.
And you even look, Joe, though, Thursday night, that loss with Oregon, even the penalties.
Oh,
those
man.
are some stupid penalties. I saw one play where Solomon, the quarterback for Arizona, got slammed.
Yeah.
Got his head twisted. And there's no reason to do something like that. And then with the taunting penalty at the end, which set Arizona up, moved them up, and they scored the touchdown instead of just settling for a field goal. That really cost Oregon this week.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Ohio State at 15. Now, I don't really want to get too much out of the top 10, but I think Ohio State for me, we were on this show, we were talking about we sold Ohio State. We were completely off Ohio State ship when Braxton Miller was out for the year. Rightfully so. I mean, you look at Ohio State defensively, there's not a ton of talent there. They still have a lot of problems, but I think J.T. Barrett deserves a lot of credit because even it was a tough transition for him. I mean, for a guy like that who was not expecting to play this year behind a very good quarterback in Braxton Miller, the more I've seen Ohio State since their loss to Virginia Tech, I really like them. I mean, they're playing Rutgers next, and Rutgers has played very well this year. They just beat Michigan this past weekend, but I think Ohio State has a legit chance to win the Big Ten. I like Michigan State, but I think Urban Meyer's you can never count Urban Meyer's teams out no matter what happens. And J.T. Barrett, to be honest, has really improved. I mean, he's getting better. He's playing well. He's really moving that offense down the field. So I think I'm keeping my eye on Ohio State because I really do think they could end up without another loss this year. And if they keep on progressing, they could win the Big Ten for me.
Oh, they can, Joe. This team, I said the same exact thing with Braxton Miller. Very scared when he went down. But J.T. Barrett really stepped it up. You look at his first 2 starts, Joe, he threw for 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. And since then, his last 3 games, he's thrown for 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. And he's just really stepped it up. And I feel that he's going to help lead this Ohio State team.
See, I love the incorporation of the stats right there, Big Shot Rob. We agree, and you put the stats up to back it up. I love it. Now let's go to one more team in the top I want to talk about is Notre Dame. I'm curious to get your thoughts on Notre Dame, Rob, because for me, I like Notre Dame a lot. I mean, big win against Stanford, 5-0, number 5 ranking. In Florida, and Notre Dame's got a couple more tough games on the schedule. They still play USC, they still play Florida State, but I think Notre Dame's going to have the ability to hang in all these games and possibly win them. You look at Everett Golson, I've said it so many times. You gotta be so impressed with how this guy's progressed. Look, he still makes some mistakes. He's still got to fix some things, but the danger, the threat of him as a passer and as a runner is so just game planning wise so difficult. And he's got that team winning games and moving the ball. I mean, they're well coached. They have good talent on the defensive side of the ball. They don't run the ball very well, which is I worry about sometimes. But I like Notre Dame a lot, and they're probably going to end up with at least one loss, but you know what? Notre Dame, give them credit because they've had a much better year than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, this team, I really didn't expect this coming out of them. They really hadn't been the same since they had lost to Alabama in the national championship. And I've just been very proud with Golson. He stepped it up. You look at his stats from 2012 to 2014 in completion percentage, he stepped up by 6 points. He's now 64% with his completion percentage. He's thrown for 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And this guy really has changed his game and everything. And I feel that Notre Dame, I see them finishing at least in the top 3 or top 4 this year. I don't see them sticking at 5. I could see them finishing in top 3 or top 4.
I can see it too. I mean, that Florida State game is going to be really fun because that's the first time Florida State's going to finally be challenged. And seeing how Everett Golson can work the ball against Jameis Winston, it's going to be a fun game to watch. Now, a couple more on the slate to go over. I mean, Utah is a team I think that deserves a lot of credit. I mean, Utah is not going to get the same name recognition as a lot of these other programs. But look, Utah's got wins. They went to Michigan and beat Michigan. They went to UCLA and beat UCLA. Utah is a good football program. Last year, they beat Stanford. Utah has got some quality wins against big programs. Utah is a good football team, and give them credit against UCLA. I thought UCLA's first loss was going to come this weekend against Oregon, but UCLA, I love them, and they lost to Utah. Utah, give them credit, good football team. Now, the other thing that just captivated the sports weekend was the Arizona State and the USC game, that Hail Mary at the end of the game. Rob, take me to your reaction when you first saw that Hail Mary.
Oh, it was sick. It was like the craziest pass. You don't expect it. You don't expect it towards the end of the game to finish like that, and just an amazing touchdown pass at the end.
It really was, and I mean, it's just one of those things where, as if the weekend for college football couldn't have gotten any better. That was just another one of those things that just made it even more unbelievable. But it was literally, that was the best weekend in college football so far. I mean, it was just so much fun to watch. There's a ton of stuff that I'm glad that we were able to get to. We are going to come back with our NFL stuff. So much to get to there. Rob's got a lot of frustration to get out on his New York Jets. So stay with us, and we will be right back.